just for them. Hi, Princess. You can sit right down in front over there, okay? Back up just a little bit, because you don't want to get too close to me because I don't have a mask on. And you're too pretty. Look at your shoes. They light up and everything. Go ahead and sit down, Olivia. That's fine. Okay. Now, last week, we were talking about this verse from Matthew, where Jesus told his disciples who were saying, who's the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? Jesus said, hey, you want to even be in the kingdom of heaven, you have to have faith like a little child. Because if you don't, you won't even be a member of the kingdom of heaven. And we talked about the faith of a little child. Well, you know how that comes? That comes in baptism. Before we can even give voice to our faith, it's planted there in our heart. So, the challenge I had for everybody was to share pictures or something that had to do with their baptism, the time when that childlike faith came in your heart. So, let's see who was able to share with us pictures of baptism. Baptism that reminds us that Christ died on the cross for our sins and rose again for our justification. We have Betty Keel's baptismal certificate from October 20th, 1935. Betty, I couldn't read what church it is. What church was that? A Lutheran church in Minnesota? Yeah, I couldn't read the name of the town. Excellent. We have Elizabeth Keel's baptism, which happened at Peace Lutheran Church, which is a which is a mother congregation of this one. And this would have happened when the church was in the fellowship hall in there. And that is Pastor Wilbur baptizing Elizabeth Keel. Then we have her mother, Alicia Draper Keel, and I got to baptize her in this sanctuary. BG reminded me this was one of the first baptisms that I did here. First baptism I ever did as a pastor. I got to baptize my oldest grandson as a deacon, but that was a first here. You do. And then we have Scarlett Jackson's baptism, which happened at Christ Lutheran Church in Goodrich in 2004. And Eva Jackson's baptism at Redeemer, another one of our mother congregations that happened in 2006. And Zoe Offerman, who I baptized on September 23rd, 2018. All of these, and when we see a baptism, it reminds us of that time in our life when that simple childlike faith of Christ came into my life and came into your life and all of your lives when you were baptized. So, what are we going to talk about this Sunday? Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about forgiveness, okay? Now, for instance, let's say you each had your favorite toy. Olivia, what's your favorite toy? What is it? Elsa from Frozen. Thank you. Okay, let's say you had Elsa from Frozen in your hand. And I walked up and go, hey, that's really neat. And I grabbed it out of your hand. And you know what you did? You cried. And then I looked at you and I laughed, ha ha, it's mine now. And I walked away. And I said, what are you going to do? I'm bigger than you. Oh, that wouldn't be very nice, would it? No. In fact, you might want to get even with me. Well, first you'd go tell Grandpa. And Grandpa would get it back from me. And you might ask Grandpa to do something to hurt me for being so nasty. Or maybe you want to get even with me yourself. You might wait till I had nodded off in my office, taken a nap, and maybe you might want to come in and take ketchup and mustard and put it all over my face. I know. Shouldn't be saying this. Or you can do what my kids like to do when I fell asleep. They would take a marker and write on me. That's what we want to do. When people do mean and nasty things to us, we want to get even with them. Except for Joseph. And we're going to hear about Joseph in our Old Testament lesson. His brothers did something very, very mean to him. They sold him to be a slave. So he left his home and his father and all his stuff and had to live in a foreign country as a slave. And then when his brothers came later on, he had worked his way up and became second in command to all of Egypt. So his brothers showed up, and he's remembering what they did to him, so he probably got even with them, right? What do you think Joseph did to get even with his brothers? He's the second most powerful man in all of Egypt. You know what he did? He did nothing. He had forgiven them. You did, and the birthdays are great things. And when somebody does wrong to you, the best thing we can do as believers in Jesus is forgive them. You know why? Because Jesus has forgiven us. Whenever somebody does something mean to us, we remember what you told me earlier today? You said that you've got a picture of Jesus on the wall at Grandpa's house. And that's to remind you that Jesus has forgiven you for all the times you do something wrong. And we need to remember that too when we struggle to forgive people. We remember just how much Jesus has forgiven us for. And the love that comes into our heart through our baptism, that's the power for us to forgive, even when people are not nice. Hey is for horses. What? I got you there, didn't I? Let me finish and then we'll talk after service, okay? So we want to remember when people do mean things to us and we struggle to forgive them, all that Jesus has forgiven us for. How much he loves us, that he died on the cross and rose again. And that's the key for us to forgive other people and not do mean things, even when they're mean to us. So, Children's Message Challenge for you guys this week is show me in some way, shape, or form how you either ask Jesus for forgiveness or you've forgiven others. Okay? Olivia's got plenty of ideas she's trying to tell me about, so see her after worship and she'll clue you in on some things to do. Okay, last chance. What do you got to tell me? Did you guys know Halloween is coming up? Yeah, it is. So what you need to do as soon as you leave here is go to Meijer and get Halloween candy for me and Olivia, okay? That's the real challenge. Thank you for reminding me of that, Olivia. Thank you for coming up. You guys can all go back to your parents or to your grandpa and grandma. And Olivia, we'll talk later. You can tell me later, because I'll forget now, because I can't remember. But you're pretty. Walk down the middle aisle here and show everybody how pretty you are. Yeah, show them your pretty shoes. Everybody watch Olivia's shoes as she walks back.